Welcome to Health Freedom Radio with Jessica Steele and Jordan Fisher. Whole health conversations to elevate your life, your health, your wealth, and your legacy. Learn with us, then share with others.
Imagine you're sitting in a sterile clinic. You know, the lights are bright, the clock is ticking, and a doctor is telling you that if you don't take this specific synthetic drug, you are seriously endangering your life.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's intense.
Right. You feel your chest tighten. So you pull out your phone in the waiting room to do a quick search. And suddenly, there's this wildly popular wellness influencer looking right into the camera, telling you that exact drug is pure poison.
And that all you actually need is like a forest-foraged mushroom.
Exactly. So who is telling the truth?
It's an incredibly terrifying moment because in that split second, the panic just sets in. You aren't calmly evaluating biological evidence anymore, right? Your survival instincts have been triggered.
You just feel this immense pressure to pick a side to survive.
Yeah, exactly.
And that paralyzing pressure is really the exact reason we are doing this deep dive into the Health Freedom Field Guide #1. It's called Making Healthcare Healthy, Caring, and Logical.
It's such an important resource right now.
It really is. Our mission today is to help you, the listener, build a defense against that panic. We want to give you practical tools to reason better about your health and just stop turning healthcare into this bitter camp warfare between conventional medicine and natural health.
Which is why the voice behind this guide is just so crucial. The author is Dr. Jolie Phillips. She's a holistic natural health and nutrition PhD and a world entrepreneur.
Right.
And before we go any further, we really need to set the record straight on her stance because Dr. Phillips is not anti-medicine.
Not at all.
No, she deeply respects competent medical care,
Right.
brilliant doctors, emergency intervention, and acute diagnostics. She honors those tools just as much as she respects holistic natural health, terrain literacy, and ancient traditional wisdom.
Yeah, because the goal here is a more mature, logical, cooperative health conversation.
Yeah.
But treating health like a team sport is it's so ingrained in us now.
It really is.
We treat the human body the way we treat, like, sports rivalries. You pick your jersey, Team Medical or Team Natural, and you defend it against the enemy. But there is a massive flaw in that logic.
What's that?
Physiology doesn't reward loyalty. I mean, your biological terrain doesn't care if a tool wears a white coat or a green leaf. It cares about what works for your biology in this exact moment.
That is a brilliant way to phrase it. And if treating the body like a sports rivalry fails, why on earth do we keep doing it?
Because we're scared.
Exactly. Health decisions are rarely made in calm classrooms. They're made when we are scared or in pain or just utterly exhausted.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And in those vulnerable moments, both sides have fringes that exploit our lack of logic. I mean, the medical fringe might mock holistic natural health as total quackery, right?
Yeah.
They treat symptom suppression as the only valid form of care.
While the natural health fringe might call all life-saving medicine poison.
Right, and they use that fear of toxins to build brand loyalty.
So we end up trapped in what the guide brilliantly calls evidence theater. I just can't stop thinking about this concept.
It's a great term.
Medical institutions will use pristine white coats, complex Latin jargon, and these giant hospital logos to create this illusion of absolute certainty.
Yeah.
But then natural marketers do the exact same thing, right?
Yeah.
They use pristine forest imagery, ancient symbols, spiritual language.
Right. Both sides are dressing up in the symbols of proof without actually doing the hard work of proving anything for your specific body.
So how do we pierce through that theater? If both sides are manipulating us, what's our defense mechanism?
We use logic. That is our primary defense. Dr. Phillips outlines 25 logical fallacies in the guide.
Oh, wow. 25.
Yeah, and these are not just dusty academic terms for a college philosophy class.
Yeah.
They are practical, everyday survival tools for your mind. They explain exactly how marketers and practitioners weaponize logical gaps to trigger your fears.
Okay, I want to go through all of them, but let's make this real. Let's not just read a list. Let's say I'm scrolling online, or I'm in a consultation, and I immediately hit friction. The practitioner just attacks the other side.
Okay.
This brings us to the first group, attacks and distractions. So say a holistic practitioner is trying to explain how the cellular terrain works, and a medical doctor just dismisses them entirely by calling them a quack.
Well, that's the ad hominem fallacy.
Right. the personal attack.
Precisely. It's a personal attack. And the reasoning is terribly weak because an insult is not biological evidence. It doesn't answer the physiological question at all.
So what should you ask yourself when you hear that?
You need to mentally separate the speaker from the idea and ask, what is the actual claim here, apart from who said it?
Okay, but what happens when you push back? Because usually people just get defensive and point a finger right back at you. Like a natural health advocate raises a valid concern about the overprescribing of antibiotics, and the doctor snaps back, well, supplement companies make billions of dollars too.
Ah, yeah. That's the two-cloak fallacy. It essentially translates to hypocrisy.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it's a deflection tactic. The doctor might be entirely correct about supplement companies, but it does absolutely nothing to address the issue of overprescribing. It's just a way to avoid accountability.
So how do you handle that?
You have to calmly pivot and ask, can we answer the original criticism directly before we start pointing fingers elsewhere?
It's basically like throwing a smoke bomb in the middle of a conversation, which sounds a lot like the red herring fallacy.
It is a smoke bomb. A red herring is an intentional distraction. Imagine you ask a practitioner a really specific question like, how exactly does magnesium impact blood pressure?
Okay.
And instead of explaining the mechanism, they launch into a 10-minute rant about how the supplement industry is completely unregulated.
Oh, I hate that.
Right. They have completely shifted your attention away from the claim that actually needed examination. So you have to anchor the conversation by asking, wait, what question were we originally trying to answer?
Or worse, they just distort what you said. Like, I might say, I believe supporting the body's natural terrain matters for healing. And a critic responds with, oh, so you think magical herbs can cure a severed limb?
The classic straw man.
Yes.
They take your reasonable position, they mutate it into a ridiculous, weak version of itself, and then attack that fake version because, well, it's easier to defeat. It just destroys honest dialogue.
Yeah. So how do you defend against a straw man?
By demanding accuracy. Just ask, can you state my actual view accurately before you critique it?
Love that. And wrapping up this attack phase is a really subtle one, the loaded question. This feels like a trap disguised as an inquiry.
Give me an example.
Like a practitioner asking a patient, when did you stop rejecting science?
Oh, yeah. It's a complete trap because it hides a massive assumption inside the question itself. It assumes you were rejecting science to begin with.
Right. And if you try to answer it with a date or a defense, you automatically validate their false premise.
Exactly. So instead of answering, you have to dismantle the trap by asking, what underlying assumption must I accept just to answer this question?
Okay, so those are the attacks. Let's shift gears. What happens when they stop attacking and start trying to dazzle you? Like, they use credentials or trends to shut down your questions.
Right.
This is group 2, false authorities and popularity. The most obvious one has to be the appeal to authority.
Yes. This is treating a credential or an institution as undeniable proof all by itself. We assume a medical title alone just ends the inquiry.
But a brilliant, world-renowned surgeon might have absolutely zero training in clinical nutrition.
Exactly. A title should certainly inform your decision, but it cannot end your critical thinking. You always need to ask what actual data or evidence supports this claim, entirely apart from the title of the person speaking.
And on the flip side of the shiny credential is the shiny trend, right? The bandwagon fallacy. We see this all the time on social media.
Oh, everywhere.
A viral weight loss protocol or some detox drink explodes online, millions of views. It feels like everyone is doing it, so our brains are just wired to think, well, it must work.
But that's a dangerous leap. I mean, popularity doesn't prove biological suitability. It merely proves marketing reach or momentum or sometimes just mass desperation.
Wow, mass desperation, that's true.
You really have to ask, does this popularity actually prove truth or is it just a viral wave?
That makes total sense.
Yeah.
Now, what if someone rejects a perfectly valid idea simply because of where it came from? Like, they refuse a life-saving medication purely because it's a pharma drug.
Right.
Or they reject a highly effective herbal remedy purely because it originates from indigenous knowledge.
Well, you're describing the genetic fallacy. That's judging a claim purely by its source or origin.
Okay.
Again, knowing the source is helpful context, but it doesn't determine physiological truth. A synthesized drug might save your life, and an indigenous herb might heal your gut.
So what's the better question?
You have to ask, what happens when I examine the actual mechanism and evidence of this tool completely apart from its origin story?
And if we dismiss those tools, we often fall right into the appeal to ignorance. That's treating what we don't know as if it's absolute proof.
Right. Someone says there is no double-blind, placebo-controlled study proving this traditional tea works, therefore it is utterly useless.
Which completely erases centuries of traditional use and clinical observation simply because a very specific type of modern trial hasn't been funded yet.
Exactly. Absence of a specific study is not proof of biological failure. You have to navigate that gray area by asking, what do we actually know, what do we not know, and what level of risk fits that current uncertainty?
Speaking of risk, let's talk about how marketers weaponize our survival instincts.
Yeah.
Group 3 is all about emotional traps and faulty connections. It is so hard to think logically when a commercial is actively trying to make you cry.
Oh, the appeal to emotion. It is incredibly potent because it uses feeling as a complete substitute for evidence.
Like a pharmaceutical commercial using a frightened family, slow-motion hugs, hopeful piano music to push a synthetic drug.
Or a natural wellness ad using terrifying language about hidden toxins destroying your liver to sell an expensive detox kit.
Yeah.
The emotion you feel is very real, but it does not prove the product fits your unique biology. You have to take a deep breath and ask, what concrete evidence remains on the table after I let this emotion settle?
I feel like our brains are so eager for relief that we start connecting dots that aren't even there. Like, I take a new herbal supplement and 3 days later my cold goes away. My immediate thought is that supplement is a miracle cure.
Which is the false cause fallacy, assuming that just because event A happened before event B, event A must have caused event B.
Right.
It could be the supplement. But it could also be the fact that you finally slept for 8 hours, or simply that the viral cycle reached its natural end.
Our brains just crave simple causality.
They do, but biology is complex. What else could possibly explain this outcome?
If we don't pause to ask that, we easily get dragged down the slippery slope. This is the extreme chain reaction argument. Like, if you decide to question the side effects of this one medication, you're basically rejecting all of modern medicine and you're going to end up in the dark ages.
It's a completely paralyzing tactic. It uses the fear of an imaginary catastrophic endpoint to prevent you from taking a totally reasonable first step.
Right.
You counter this by demanding the map. Ask what specific proven steps actually connect my first action to this terrifying outcome you're describing.
And rounding out these faulty connections is composition and division. That's confusing a part for the whole. Let's say a synthetic drug successfully lowers a specific inflammatory marker on your lab work.
Okay.
The doctor calls it a massive success, but as a whole person, you still feel exhausted, brain-fogged, and miserable.
That's a perfect example. The isolated lab marker matters, yes, but it isn't the entirety of your biological system. You cannot assume what is true for a tiny part is automatically true for the incredibly complex whole.
So what should we ask?
The crucial question is, am I confusing a specific metric with the health of my entire whole body system?
This naturally leads us into Group 4, skewed evidence and double standards. Let's talk about how evidence is presented to us. So often, it feels like we are only being shown the highlight reel.
That is cherry picking. It's presenting only the favorable data while sweeping the failures under the rug.
Right, like a natural health website highlighting 3 dramatic, miraculous testimonials, but completely hiding the thousands of refunds and negative reviews.
Or a pharmaceutical ad boasting about symptom improvement in huge, bold text, while a speed reader rushes through a terrifying list of severe side effects at the end.
Yeah, we've all seen those.
You have to defend yourself by asking, what missing evidence would a fair-minded, neutral critic include in this presentation?
When we only see that skewed evidence, we tend to make massive leaps in logic. Like, I had one incredibly dismissive, arrogant specialist, so I decide that the entire conventional medical field is corrupt and I'll never see a doctor again.
Well, that is a hasty generalization. You are drawing a massive, sweeping conclusion from a tiny, non-representative sample.
Okay, wait, I get this one confused with the anecdotal fallacy. They sound so similar to me. Aren't they basically the same thing?
They are very close, but there's a nuance. A hasty generalization is just a fast, bad statistical leap. The anecdotal fallacy specifically relies on the power of a story. Humans are deeply moved by narratives. So if someone uses their uncle's miraculous recovery story to definitively prove that a specific holistic protocol is safe and effective for the entire general public, they're using an anecdote as overriding proof.
Stories are wonderful for revealing possibilities, but they don't prove typical population-level outcomes.
Exactly. For both fallacies, you need to step back and ask what larger objective pattern would help me interpret this single piece of evidence.
Okay, that clarifies it.
Yeah.
What about when practitioners treat two things as identical just because they look similar on paper? Like saying a synthetic lab-isolated vitamin is the exact same thing as getting that vitamin from a whole organic food source.
That's false equivalence. Treating them as entirely equal just because they share a chemical resemblance. But resemblance does not guarantee physiological equivalence, right? The body processes isolated compounds differently than complex food matrices.
So we ask, what relevant biological differences make this comparison weak?
Spot on.
And we see so much special pleading around this too. This is the ultimate double standard.
Absolutely. Special pleading is when you apply rules to the camp you dislike, but exempt the camp you prefer.
Oh, like demanding multi-million-dollar rigorous clinical trials for a simple herbal tea, but unquestioningly accepting every weak, deeply flawed study produced by a pharmaceutical company.
Or the exact reverse. Demanding flawless proof for drugs, but believing every single unverified testimonial for a natural detox. True logic requires you to ask, am I applying the exact same standard of proof to the claims I like and the claims I dislike?
That is a tough mirror to look into. All right, we have arrived at the final group, Group 5, shifting meanings and false choices. These are the language traps. And the most common one has to be the false dichotomy.
The either ultimatum, yes. The false dichotomy is everywhere, like take this harsh medication, or you simply don't care about your health and you will die.
It artificially erases the vast landscape of reality. It pretends there are only two extreme options, completely ignoring things like dose adjustments, lifestyle support, nutritional interventions, or even just watchful waiting.
Exactly. You must break the binary by asking what additional options, timelines, or integrated sequences are being left out of this conversation.
So the natural instinct, when faced with two extremes, is to just compromise.
Yeah.
Right? We just cut it down the middle.
Well, be very careful there because that leads to the middle ground fallacy. It assumes the truth is always a perfect, polite compromise halfway between two extremes.
But biology doesn't care about politeness.
No, it doesn't. Sometimes compromising between emergency surgery and natural herbs is a terrible idea. I mean, one might be urgently, immediately necessary to save your life, or the other might be the clear, gentle first step. The middle is not automatically the truth.
So we ask, what does the biological evidence actually show? Completely apart from the psychological comfort of making a compromise. What about when the logic just spins in a dizzying circle, like this treatment is the best because it's the standard of care, and it's the standard of care because it's the best?
That's circular reasoning. The conclusion is being used as its own proof. The label circles back on itself without ever touching outside reality.
How do you break that loop?
By demanding what independent external evidence supports this claim.
But sometimes, even when you provide that external evidence, they just change the rules of the game. Let's say a natural therapy has decades of documented traditional use and clear clinical observation, but a critic suddenly says, well, I won't even look at it unless you show me $1 billion phase 3 pharmaceutical trial.
That is moving the goalposts. They are unfairly changing the standard of proof mid-conversation specifically to block evaluation of something outside their camp. And it almost always pairs with the no true Scotsman fallacy, which is a purity test to protect a group's identity from inconvenient facts.
Oh, the purity test. Like saying a real respected doctor would never study holistic nutrition. Or a natural advocate saying, well, that protocol failed because it wasn't real natural health.
Precisely. You are artificially redefining the boundaries of the group just to avoid dealing with evidence you don't like. You have to catch yourself and ask, am I redefining terms just to protect my camp?
So sneaky.
And another sneaky language trick is equivocation, where someone shifts the meaning of a word mid-sentence.
Like using the word natural to automatically imply that something is 100% safe.
Exactly. I mean, arsenic is natural, poison ivy is natural, heavy metals are natural. A natural substance can be profoundly healing or incredibly harmful depending entirely on the dose, the context, and your specific biological terrain.
You always have to ask, what exactly does this specific word mean in the context of this specific sentence?
Yes.
Okay, we've reached the final fallacy, number 25, the fallacy. Wait, is this like an inception of fallacies?
It sounds like a riddle, but it's actually a crucial safeguard. The fallacy is assuming that just because someone used a terrible, illogical argument to defend a claim, the core conclusion itself must be entirely false.
Oh, I see. So if a supplement salesperson uses a completely illogical, emotion-driven argument to convince me to buy magnesium, I might get annoyed and assume magnesium is a complete scam.
Right. But the physiological necessity of magnesium in the human body didn't magically disappear just because the person selling it was bad at logic.
You have to separate the messenger from the mineral.
Ask yourself, does their bad argument fail, or does the actual biological conclusion fail?
Okay, my brain is officially buzzing. Understanding these 25 traps is incredible for recognizing evidence theater. But in the real world, when I'm sitting in that clinic or standing overwhelmed in the supplement aisle, how do I actually navigate? Because knowing how to spot a bad map doesn't mean I actually have a good map to follow.
And that is exactly why Dr. Phillips didn't just write a list of fallacies. The guide provides a deeply practical 10-step field practice. It's a chronological map you use before consenting to, refusing, or delaying any care.
Let's walk through the sequence of that map.
First is the assessment phase. You start by simply naming the exact claim being made and identifying the speaker and their underlying incentives.
Okay, so establishing reality, then what?
Then you evaluate the data. You separate the different types of evidence they are providing, and crucially, you ask what evidence is noticeably missing from their pitch. Once you have that picture, you move to the risk phase.
This is where you compare the risks of action versus inaction.
Right.
Because doing nothing is also a choice that carries risk.
Exactly. You compare those risks, determine the actual objective urgency of the situation, and seek qualified outside perspectives if you need them.
And finally, the execution phase.
You build a tailored sequence of care instead of just choosing one camp. You define exactly what metrics or symptoms you will monitor to see if the approach is actually working, and you remain humble enough to revisit the decision later.
Build a sequence instead of choosing a camp. I think that is the most powerful takeaway here. It literally transforms you from a passive patient waiting for orders into an active, logical steward of your own body.
It really does. It requires humility and maturity from everyone involved. It means medical professionals can proudly use their life-saving acute tools while also encouraging foundational nutrition and terrain restoration. And it means holistic practitioners can honor ancient wisdom while willingly utilizing advanced diagnostics and data when it serves the biology of the person sitting in front of them.
It's about making healthcare healthy, caring, and truly logical. So, to everyone listening, the next time you feel pressured by a glossy advertisement, a frustrated practitioner, or even a well-meaning family member pushing a trend on you,
Just take a breath.
step out of the theater. Ask yourself, are you making a choice based on what your biological terrain actually needs right now, or are you just instinctively defending a camp? True health freedom doesn't mean rejecting everything in anger. It means thinking clearly enough to choose the right tool in the right sequence for your unique body.
That is the absolute core of discernment. To truly build on this foundation, consider how often your fear of making the wrong choice actually pushes you to obey the loudest, most frightening voice in the room rather than the most logical one.
It's a profound shift in perspective. You can explore all 25 fallacies, the 10-step sequence, and so much more by downloading the field guide freely at wholehealthworldwide.com/resources.
And you can listen on demand at healthfreedomradio.net for more freedom-minded health education.
For practical, natural, and holistic self-help resources, head over to targetedneeds.com. Finally, we invite We the People to visit Live Pure Academy for free access to the first 2 educational levels. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Stay logical, stay curious, and take exceptional care of your terrain.
Thanks for listening to Health Freedom Radio with Jessica Steele and Jordan Fisher. We're glad you joined us, and we hope you enjoyed today's show. We'll leave you with this. Your future is yours to own, and we're here to run with you every step of the way. Let's build it together. Subscribe, stay connected, and share this with someone who's ready to level up their life.